I'm Anthony Nguyen. Join us as we change the narrative around aged care, one story at a time. Welcome back to the Pioneers in Aged Care podcast. Here we have Linda Mellors, the CEO and Managing Director of Regis Aged Care. Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.
Look, so glad to have you on. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to our sponsors. The sponsors for this episode is Keen Care and Aurelia Legal. Got a couple of questions from them, which we'll get stuck into a bit later.
Sure.
But to start off with, a quick overview as to your career history and how you landed in Regis. You've been at Regis since August 2019, so coming up to 6 years.
I know.
5 years and 10 months.
I know, it's gone quickly.
Where's the big shebang going to be? Does it feel like 6 years? Are you going to do something for it?
It doesn't. So the time warp of COVID makes it feel like a really long time and a really short time because we lost a few years
it does
in
feel
there,
like that.
just really in the trenches with COVID.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you're still a director at McKillop Family Services, still involved?
I am.
Nice. What does that entail? And how you, as an MD and CEO of one of the largest aged care providers, that's time consuming enough.
It is, but I've always had board roles alongside my executive roles, and I came across McKillop from my last job. So I actually joined the board of McKillop when I was in my last job and kept it going through to now. But McKillop looks after children and families.
You're looking after the full cycle of life.
Well, yeah, in my hospital experience, I've done everything from pregnancy and preterm neonates all the way through to palliative care and aged care. So I've done the full life cycle,
nice.
Which is always interesting. But McKillop, the work that he's done there is such good work. So caring for kids who can't stay at home for any particular reason, lots of family therapy, foster care, etc. But McKillop looks after high risk kids in out-of-home care as well. And so a lot of the risk issues can overlap in terms of providing residential care services and making sure that the people in those homes and the staff are all safe and well trained, etc. So there is actually a lot of overlap.
Yeah, a shout out to McKillop. When did you start in aged care?
So I started in aged care about 7 years ago when we're thinking about residential aged care. But the reality is hospitals are full of older people. So most patients right across the hospital system, most patients are actually older people. So I know a lot of people don't think about hospitals as caring for the aged, but that's by and large what they do. So I've always been involved, and then in my last year at Mercy Health, they asked me if I would run the aged care division. So I've been running the hospitals. I've been on the hospital side for 9 years at that point. So I took over the aged care CEO role, still had my CEO of the health service role, so I did 2 CEO jobs for a year there. And I said to people, once you see aged care, you can't unsee it. It was a sector on the cusp of major reform.
Yep.
So the Royal Commission had just been announced. I'd seen all of the reviews, and I'd been sitting around the national executive table listening to the issues in aged care for such a long time. So I thought I could probably contribute something there, and I'd had a great time running hospitals. It was a brilliant job, but yeah, it was time for a change.
You climbed the ranks to the highest level in the hospital system, and then you decided to go into aged care, and you decided to stick with aged care. And when you say once you've seen aged care, you can't unsee it. But what did you see that has made you stay? Because it's been quite challenging.
It has. It's enormously challenging. So, you do say don't come if you're not up for a challenge, because it is a challenging environment. But what I saw was salt of the earth people in the homes. So everywhere I went, and every aged care home I've ever been into has salt of the earth people who just want to give you a good day.
Yeah.
That's what they're there for. Older people are endlessly interesting, and I find the diversity of backgrounds and experiences just fascinating. So I could talk to older people all day. I believe very strongly in the care philosophy, and every single person, regardless of background, should be provided with dignified and high quality care. And then I believe very much in choice. So everybody will have had a different experience at home. They'll be looking for different things. You and I would want different things in aged care.
Yep.
So we need to make sure that there's a diversity of services provided to cater for the diversity of needs and preferences of the general community. Then there was the piece around reform. So it was clear that aged care needed reform, and I absolutely support the pillars of reform that came out of the Royal Commission. I think I also felt really strongly about supporting the aged care workforce. I didn't see that that the sector or the workforce had enough support or advocacy, so people weren't paid enough money. The complexity of the work was not recognised. You brought up the point around registered nurses, and I look at what registered nurses do in aged care against what they do in hospitals. In aged care, the registered nurse is often the most senior clinical person on site. So the decision-making, responsibility and complexity, it's enormous. So if that's the kind of thing that appeals to you, it's a fabulous environment.
Yeah.
Plus it's relationship-based care rather than transactional-based care. So there's so much going for aged care. I didn't feel the good stories were getting the airtime that they needed to have. So I love what you're doing, because we need to tell the good stories.
Absolutely.
And we need to attract people into our sector.
There's a real humbleness with aged care, and I guess a lot of leaders and people in aged care just want to do good work and let the work speak for themselves, which is a great characteristic to have. But then the media picks up and all the negativity, and it just gets skewed towards anything that gets sells papers, anything that gets clicks. And unfortunately, people like clicking on the headlines where it's not so positive.
So the real difference that I saw in hospitals, if something goes wrong in a hospital, there might be media reporting on the thing that has gone wrong, and it's contained to that particular area of the hospital or the hospital itself. My observation, and this is when I was sitting outside aged care, was anything that went wrong in aged care was rapidly generalised to the whole sector. So every provider ended up being tainted by every negative aged care story.
Yeah.
You don't see that in more mature sectors. So I found that really difficult. I found it challenging. It really challenged me, and it made me angry when I saw the difference during COVID. So nurses in hospitals were up on pedestals, while the people who were doing just extraordinary work during COVID in aged care were being demonised in the media. It was grossly unfair, and I found that personally very, very challenging.
Yeah, I'd never considered. I didn't realise that there was that different perception in that aspect. Could you tell me a bit more about Regis, locations, services you provide? How many homes at the moment?
So we have 68 homes across the country. So we're everywhere other than the ACT. Regis is a fabulous company, been around now for 30 years. And I love the story of Regis. So started by founders who had been into aged care and felt that they could do it better. So I love that just as a starting story. So they wanted to make sure that the physical environment was lovely for residents and their families and the workers, and they wanted to make sure that the care and the services were what people wanted and needed. So they started with a single aged care home in Mildura in Victoria, so regional Victoria.
That was the
ground
first
zero. Home. That's where Regis started, actually, was a single aged care home in Mildura. And then it has expanded and expanded, so partly through acquisition and through a really busy greenfield development program. So one of the founders is still on our board. The other one just retired late last year. So they've been with us for a really long time.
What are their names?
Ian Roberts and Brian Dorman.
Hi, Ian and Brian.
And they keep us incredibly grounded in terms of the value proposition that we are giving to the Australian community. So we're often reminded, back to first principles, back to the basics.
I love that their vision still continues, and they still have a say in, or an opinion, or they can still guide your future.
Yeah, and people love meeting them, so it's lovely. And their knowledge of aged care is fantastic, as you can imagine. And then we also have some home care services, day therapy, and some retirement living as well.
So what's on for the next 12 months? Anything under NDA we can keep off the table unless you want to share, but what's exciting you for the next 12 months at Regis?
Yes, I don't want to go to jail, so I won't share with you things that I shouldn't share with you.
Yes.
So the next 12 months, obviously we have a new Aged Care Act and the strengthened standards. So making sure that we are across all of the requirements of those, really, really important. We've been quite public that we are in a growth phase. So we've spent years getting ourselves ready for that growth. So we've made lots of technology investments, hardware and software. Everything is scalable, and now it's time for us to achieve more scale. So we've had some acquisitions you will have seen over the past 12 months.
Yep.
So 2 smaller aged care, resi aged care groups, and also recently a home care acquisition. So we're looking at more acquisitions, and we always look for high quality physical homes. That's really important to us, to make sure that the physical environment is right for older people, and we pay a lot of attention to the culture. So if the culture of the people isn't right, it makes it a very difficult integration. So it's very easy to go in and make an assessment of culture and, do we have values alignment? How do you run your business compared to how we run our business? And is care of the person absolutely core to everything you do? Because all of the other things we can work around, but if you don't have that culture of care and the right physical environment, then that makes it difficult. And then we have more developments underway as well. So we've got some greenfields under development, and we've been buying land. And I should also mention we opened a new home in Camberwell in Victoria in November.
Right. Nice. What is an issue in aged care that is not on the radar enough? What's something keeping you up at night? What puzzle are you trying to put together, or what issue do we need to come together as an industry to tackle?
Really good question, and I can think of a few things. I think one of the conversations that's much bigger than our sector but really needs to be held is the changing demography. So we have lots of older people hitting the age where they might need aged care services, accepting that not everybody will. Even if you make some aggressive assumptions around a smaller proportion of those people using residential aged care or home care, the absolute numbers are overwhelming. So we need lots more services, which means we are going to need a lot more people because of the structures that have been put in place, say around care minutes as an example. With the changing demographics, we're also going to have fewer young people of working age, one contributing to the tax base, but also just from a staffing perspective, will we have enough people to actually service the requirements of the older people who need care and services? So it's a big question. It's much broader than aged care. So it brings in things like migration, education services, housing. Like it brings everything in, but it's a big conversation that needs to be had.
I love what you said before about your founders just deciding to start, open nursing homes where it's something that they want and something for the residents. It's because I forgot who I think it was Richard DeHaas. I was having the conversation with him, and he was saying the next demographic of people, the baby boomers, they're going to have a lot more expectations.
Absolutely.
And they have their own unique preferences. And you guys are very well placed to cater for that. I've been to a lot of your homes now, and the services you provide, the additional services as well, but the layout, it's not just a nursing home where they're sort of just put in front of a TV. There's a lot of activities. So I just want to say kudos to you guys for making it a place where I'd be like, I'd live in one of those homes.
And it's interesting because, we all go through with our different lenses. So I will often go through and say, would my parents be comfortable moving in here? Would I be comfortable moving in here? Would my children be comfortable? And it will change with the different generations. So we're seeing at the moment, we have our nation building generation. The baby boomers are just coming through. Baby boomers are very different to the generation before them, and each generation after that is different as well. If I look at young people, or even if I look at people, I'll be much older than you, so I won't put you in my age bracket, but if I look at people kind of in the middle, we're used to being able to have what we want. And I wouldn't want somebody to say to me, you can't have that thing in aged care that I'm used to having, being able to choose all of my life. So I think additional services is a really good example, because we're used to saying, actually, if I want that thing, I can.
But it won't be a drastic change for you guys. You guys are pretty future-proofed with your homes.
Yeah. Look, I hope so, but it is one of those things that you always have to keep on top of.
Yeah. I want to ask you a few questions from the sponsor here. So the first question is from John Tomczyk, the General Manager at Keen Care. And his question is, how do you balance the need for detailed record keeping with the time constraints of caregivers who are focused on providing direct care? Are there any technological solutions that can help with this?
Yeah, great question, because caregivers don't come to work to document. They actually come because they want to deliver care. So we have to, again, just keep changing all of our systems and our practices to reduce the burden of documentation, recognising that documentation is essential. So having a record of what's happened is essential. So we're doing lots of things with technology. Some of the things that I see coming down the track will be much more, staff can actually dictate an update rather than having to type it in. I'm also hoping that for workers who have a first language that's not English, that they might actually be able to dictate in their first language, and we have a clever piece of tech that translates that into English.
Yes. That's something you developed in-house, was it?
So we're looking at all of these different things at the moment. But I think there are also, great pictorial charts where you can actually just click on the service that was given rather than having to put it in words. There'll be lots and lots of clever things that come. I do think, though, as a sector, and our policy makers really need to think carefully about the burden of documentation and whether we have the settings balanced correctly. So when I worked in the hospital system, there was a fantastic program that was run initially from a nursing perspective, and it was called Releasing Time to Care. So how can we actually reduce the documentation burdens and the duplication especially, so that the documentation still happens, but actually that nurse has more time to provide care. So I think a program like that in aged care would be fantastic.
You guys are ahead of the game, future-proofing. Okay, next question is from Nilesh Bansal, Principal and Founder at Aurelia Legal. His question is, looking ahead, what do you see as the biggest hurdles to maintaining adequate staffing levels, and are there any particular roles or skill sets that are proving especially difficult to fill within Australia, and how do you intend to address these?
So I'll probably go back to the demographic shift that I was talking about earlier. So I do think that we're going to end up with a mismatch in terms of care minute requirements and the number of people that will be available to fill those care minutes. So I think that's a problem. I also I still think we have a problem around registered nurses. So when I worked in the hospital system, and I'm going back probably 15 years ago, I used to be part of a student planning committee, so it involved, the universities and the hospitals and the unions and other types of education providers. And we used to sit around and actually look at the pipeline of different clinical staff. And registered nurses, we knew back then that there was a global shortage of registered nurses, an Australian shortage of registered nurses, and everything that was predicted back then has come to pass. So we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be surprised.
Yet.
Yet. We often are. So I still think registered nurses, we don't have enough nurses in Australia to fill all of the requirements. So that has to be a focus, continuing focus.
Yeah. This, I want to ask you, what do you see outside, whether it's something that Regis is adopting or working on or looking at for themselves, but what do you see that is going to help change aged care? Like there's robots, there's AI. Is there any other innovations that we don't, that again is flying under the radar, or what are you liking at the moment?
Yeah, so I think that we will see more robots. I don't want to see robots replace humans in terms of interactions,
Yep.
right? I think the human interaction, we don't want to replace that. I can see lots of opportunity for robots in back of house type functions, and I see loads of opportunity for AI to help us in the way that we run our services and our businesses. I think some of the things around language, I get really excited about that. I say to people all the time, I speak English. I grew up speaking English. I did a couple of languages at school. I became proficient in one of them. The other one, not so much.
What are you proficient in?
Used to be in French. So I did French all the way through university as well. And German was my other language. So I look at people who speak multiple languages, and it's unbelievably clever, right? Somebody who can converse in or read and write in all of those different languages. It's really clever. When I look at the cultural diversity of our residents who are here today, there's lots of diversity. That diversity will increase according to the different waves of migration that we've seen to Australia. And then you look at our employee base, unbelievably diverse, and you look at the differences as well between our residents and our employees because of those different migration patterns. Getting the communication as easy as possible between the people who are working in the sector and the people who are living or receiving services from the sector, I think there's so much opportunity, lovely opportunity there to use technology. And with Australia sort of coming into how it is today, the way it has, there are so many shared experiences. Even if you come from a different culture, different country, the shared experience of actually coming to a new country and having to learn all of those things, you can share those between residents and employees.
What do you say to someone when they say aged care isn't sexy? And also your advice to me. Should I even keep using that word? Should I keep using the phrase, I'm bringing sexy back to aged care? Because my wife says it's so cringy. She says, I hate it when you say that phrase, but because it's resonated with a lot of my network, I'm trying to balance whether it's something I should continue phrase, whether I should keep using that phrase.
Well, I don't want to contradict your wife, right? So I'm steering well clear of marital harmony. But I do think there's something in that. Whatever you call it, we need to bring it back to aged care.
It's got to be, whether it's that word or another word, it's exactly right. We need to bring it back.
Well, and you need a good theme song as well, which at least you've got with
one of my favourite
sexy
songs.
back, right? So, and then I can see a flash mob around the sector. It's a lot of possibilities sitting there.
You're
for you,
getting an
Anthony.
invitation if I arrange a flash mob.
I would be in a flash mob. In a heartbeat, I would be in a flash mob. It's one of my life streams. But I think, again, if I look back, say, in the hospital sector, emergency nursing is a great example, as is paramedicine. They were not considered to be sexy. However many decades ago. You look at where they sit now from a desirability perspective for a career.
That's what you think of.
They made that transition. So emergency nursing and the skills that you need in emergency nursing, how good are they? And they are highly valued by the community. So whatever campaign they ran to change the perception of emergency nursing, we should learn from that. Likewise with paramedicine. And there'll be other sectors as well where they've done that. But I look at the work that's done in aged care, and I look at people who've come in from a different industry, and I sort of have a standard set of questions, that you ask people. What made you come over to aged care? What did you think it would be like before you got here? And does your experience match your expectations? And the number of people who say, if I'd have known it was this good, Linda, I'd have moved across, decades ago. But aged care work, for reasons, I don't understand fully, the work of aged care it's been hidden away, and it's beautiful work. Beautiful. Like, you go out into an aged care home and you see beautiful relationships. You see lots of fun.
I do see
lots of fun. But people don't know that. So, there's a whole lot of mythology and negative perceptions around aged care that don't necessarily bear up to
It is
scrutiny.
because of the media. You see it in the movies, the protagonist walks into a nursing home, it's depressed, dull lighting. That's not been my experience.
No, and I do think as well, for a lot of people, if you haven't been in aged care, say, in 30 years, you might remember actually that it was a fairly depressing offering. I remember when I first went into aged care to visit older people, and it looked like a dormitory. So you had lots of beds lined up in a row. The smell was horrible. It wasn't dignified care in the way that we would expect today. And I understand expectations change over time. But I think if that's the memory that people are holding against their expectations for today, they need to get out and just go and visit your local aged care home and see what it's like today.
What's something that the viewers at home can connect with you with outside of work and outside of aged care? What are you doing on the weekends? If you want to share something personal about your life.
All right, so now I'm trying to think of something really exciting to make myself sound interesting. But actually, I love gardening. Gardening is what I do. I love weeding. It's a bit sad, isn't it? But I do.
I laugh because that's what my wife and I are really into at the moment. So, and it's frustrating, but it's exciting at the same time when it's the boringest thing, but when that grass is living week to week, I'm just so happy to look at it.
You kept it alive. So I grow fruit trees. I have a vegetable garden. And I'm married to a retired landscaper, but I don't actually let him touch the garden anymore because he takes out the power tools and, whereas I'm quite particular about how you prune the plants and how you keep them growing. So I love doing that. I love the theatre, so lots of musical theatre.
What's something you watched recently?
Dear Evan Hansen, I went to see that multiple times.
What is that?
It's a musical theatre production. So it left Melbourne a couple of months ago.
I've got to check that out. If you've watched it multiple times, it's worth checking out.
It absolutely is. And Rent, I went to see a couple of times as well. So I love doing those sorts of things. But family, so I have ageing parents myself who live around the corner. So I spend a lot of time with mum and dad and my sisters and my children and the dogs.
Because we are looking into fruit and vegetables, what's something that people who don't have green thumbs, what's something easy that I can grow without worrying about our lack of experience?
Spinach.
Yeah.
Yep, spinach will grow anywhere. Silver beet and spinach, you just can't kill it off. So I would definitely go for those. I've got lots of citrus trees. I have branched out and I have an avocado tree in Melbourne.
I thought that takes years to... No? Am I thinking of something else?
No, you're right. It used to be sort of 7 years before you get good fruit. Passion fruit, you can't go wrong with a passion fruit. You can't kill that either.
Okay. So if I go a couple of those easy stuff, I'll look like an expert.
You will.
Awesome. Look, Linda, thank you so much. Really appreciate having you on the podcast. And is there anything else that we haven't covered that you wanted to get across?
Oh, I just love what you're doing, Anthony. So I think, full points to you for putting out such a positive face of aged care. So, no, just encourage you to keep doing it and encourage anyone else to come on as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Bye, guys.